Well, joining me now to discuss this further is National Senator Matt Canavan. Matt, I was gobsmacked by the rhetoric from the Treasurer. Does it surprise you?
Look, it does a little bit, Cory, because the government's less than a year old, and we're less than a year from an election, or from an election we had last year. So you would think that a newly elected government would still be finding its feet, trying to keep its feet on the ground. Yet Jim's spent his break coming back and reinventing himself as some kind of messiah from Marsden and telling us all how he thinks the world should work. I mean, does he understand what most Australian families are going through over the Christmas break? Interest rates are going through the roof. Inflation, still this week we saw at record highs. People can't balance their budgets right now. And the Treasurer is off quoting Heraclitus, talking about all these grand ideologies, all stuff that's disconnected with people's lives. And in a 6,000-word essay, Cory, 6,000 words this essay came in at, there is not a single word, not a single mention of family, not a single mention of small business, not a single mention of even the mining sector, which is feathering the Treasurer's nest right now. Not a single mention of farming or manufacturing. And there are though, the one thing Jim Chalmers is focused on, I'll give him this, Cory, there are 8 mentions of the word bank. He's very focused on the banking sector and the financial institutions. That's why he wants to set up his one specific policy response and help for people out there struggling with the cost of living is, in his words, to establish a new taxonomy for climate investments to help the banking sector decide on which investments are good and which are bad. I mean, this guy's not the Messiah from Marsden. He's really the Messiah from Mars. He's living on another planet.
You've got away with words there, Senator, I have to tell you. He's got a touch of the Ruds about him, I think, now. It's like he thinks he can re-engineer society. Is there an element of this, and this is what struck me, is there an element that maybe he realises there is great pain coming down the pipe? Labor don't know how to deal with that, and so they're making these promises that they can intervene with the market and everything will be okay at the end of the day. Do you reckon they're forecasting problems?
Look, I don't really know. I think, Cory, obviously Jim Chalmers, Labor Party, their natural reflexes are to rush to government intervention, think they can control everything. They can control the temperature, apparently, through carbon taxes. They think they can control the economy with just different spending here and there. So that's where they're going. I don't think really know that they know what they're doing or what's happening. As I say, there are real economic challenges. I don't know what will happen over the next year, but there's real challenges right now. The biggest pressing issue for Australian families is the cost of living and inflation. As I say, there's nothing in 6,000 words from the Treasurer that specifically looks at, well, how are you going to help people pay their power bills? How are you going to help people keep their homes while interest rates are surging? And so this just shows the government completely out of touch. And you're right about the Ruds, giving him a touch of the Ruds here, because you might remember the Rudd government, at least, Wayne Swan went off to his beach house in late 2009, came back refreshed with this new thing called a mining tax. Jim Chalmers worked for Wayne at the time. Not sure if he was up there at the beach house surfing with him at the time, but we should all be very scared, I think, whenever a Labor Treasurer retreats to a beach house, because they're away from the real world. They start thinking themselves as some kind of messiah that can solve everything for us, when really, I think people out there just want governments to do their job. They want them to manage their money properly, and they want to get it. Right now, they need inflation to come down. We need government spending to come down, because that can help bring interest rates down or not have to rise as much. Focus on that, Jim. Focus on people's kitchen tables and less a little bit on the boardrooms of the banks that you seem to have been living in over the last 9 months as Treasurer.
Yeah, good advice. And you raise the issue of what is the role of government. I mean, they do have a role in shepherding us through economically tumultuous times. They played a very strong hand. I would argue too strong during the pandemic. The energy crisis that he refers to is entirely self-inflicted. You've been talking about those issues for a very long time. We don't need all the fluff and palaver. What Australian families want is government out of their lives to keep more of their own money so they can pay their own bills and stop messing with a market that will actually deliver 99% of what we need, won't it?
Well, true, Cory, and I like how you started that question there. I'm not in favour of an unrestricted, completely laissez-faire marketplace. I do think it's right and proper that we protect individuals, we protect families, we protect, as I say, small business, even though the Treasurer doesn't seem to know what that is. There needs to be proper protections here. But the problem we've got now is from this Labor government and from left-wing governments all around the world is there is an unholy alliance between big government socialists and big business corporatists. And that's what we're seeing here in the actual policy prescriptions of Jim. As I said, his big policy idea is that we just help green energy investors take more of your superannuation money and chuck it into climate boondoggles. That's his whole proposal here. And as I say, it's these he's not really a socialist. Like Jim Chalmers, I don't think would know a member of the proletariat if he tripped over them. But he does know big business. He knows the big boardrooms and the big executives, knows them all on a first-name basis. And I think on the conservative side of politics, our challenge here is that we don't reflexively go back saying, hey, we just want no government, we want no solutions. No, what we should be doing and focusing on is saying that, look, on our side of politics, we are in favour of the market, we are in favour of freedom and individual enterprise, but we're not in favour of big business. We're not in favour of big woke corporates trying to dictate your lives just as much as a socialist Labor government does, and now they're doing it in alliance. Our policy prescriptions should be about how we unleash individuals, small businesses, help people establish and provide for their families so they can have kids and pass that on to the next generation of Australians. If we came up with that kind of policy prescription, I think it's what people need right now. We don't need to set up artificial battle between the market and socialism. It's not about that. It's about the people against big businesses, big unions and big government.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And so let's redefine that. You've got this unholy alliance between big or corporate interests and the corporatists and big government interventionists. They're working together basically to control the information flow, to, I guess, make things as difficult as possible for smaller businesses to go in and compete. They want families just to be workers, economic units for them, and to keep on the treadmill and spend and just keep living their lives and generating wealth up the line. This is not what capitalism was meant to be about. You know, capitalism was supposed to reward people for providing and satisfying the needs of others. Now, what hope is there for, mum and dad who want a better life for them and their kids in this country if it's going to be controlled by the elites?
Well, that's up to us, Cory. I very much believe we can defeat the wokeocracy who does want to control our lives and turn us into just perfect consumers and workers. Their vision for people's future is to sit behind a cubicle for 8 hours a day, churning out spreadsheets and PowerPoint slides, and somehow that is the apogee of human existence for you. Rise that corporate ladder, and then go and spend your money on Amazon and get it delivered by drones to your household when you get home. That's one vision of the future. I actually think people much want a future where they can afford their own home. They can have the resources to start their own business. And with those resources, most importantly, Cory, they can have their own family. And within that family, they build their own castle, their own piece of paradise that gives them control. The difference between what I want to see, and after I've read Jim Chalmers' essay, is I want to see each individual Australian take charge of their lives and what they want to do, and give them the resources to help them do that. Yes, with some assistance from and support from government. Jim Chalmers instead wants to have government tell you what you need, and apparently the most important thing you need right now is for a big green investor to come and give you some solar panels and wind turbines, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, that's not the future we need. I'm signing up to the Matt Canavan vision of the future, which is about prosperity for the people. Senator, thank you for joining me on Bernardi tonight. Really appreciate your time, and have a great week.